A Zoom call version of the 715 podcast. So yeah, there's a little record thing up in the top corner.
Yeah.
Jackson and I wanted to get on the Zoom with one another. We are temporarily out of a studio right now, so we're doing this thing via Zoom. And we just wanted to get out and get some content together. Right. We haven't been out for, what did we say it was, Jackson? 26 days.
26 days at the time of recording from our last upload.
So just to get something out to the people is what the goal of this one is. Kind of check in of where we're at and kind of why we haven't been uploading is a goal here too. And then just kind of another maybe get to know your host type thing that we've done in the past. I think we've had 2 of those. So
I think the first thing we got to talk about though, before anything else, because if people who are watching the video version are seeing this immediately, you're rocking an incredible mustache.
Thank you. I don't really have the version up where I can see myself there we go. I'm at that you can see that pretty well in the camera. I couldn't really see that from my view, but the story behind the mustache, I was rocking the beard for a little bit. Went into the first football game with the beard. We lost, had to shave, do something, had the goatee. We ended up losing our second game. So This is where I'm at right now. It's the Hulk Hogan. Not quite Chuck Liddell because I don't have the mohawk with it yet.
Right.
We got to start winning football games. Otherwise, I'll be bald because I'll just have to keep finding hair to shave.
Who have you played against so far?
So we opened up our season in lacrosse against Lacrosse Central. And we both games we should have won. That's the thing too. I should still have my beard right now. But then just last Thursday, we played Superior for our first home game, and it was just so good to be back and on the gridiron again, man. Let me tell you.
So how does that
work? It's
the
grind.
How many people can be there? What does the audience look like?
So for lacrosse, we got 4 tickets per player, and then for Eau Claire, since we're a little more strict, we were at 2 tickets per player.
Right.
But I just heard that for the next home game, they're just going to open it up to like 1,500 people or something since it's an outdoor event and they can spread people out there.
And
so that'll be pretty awesome. Yeah. So I think the way it's going to work is they're going to let family in first. Whoever wants to come can come. And then students right after that. And then anybody else in the community can come then too, which will be awesome because we only had 2 tickets. But even the 2 tickets, you notice them and just the home sidelines is something else. But the students, where the students all sit, they sit in that one section,
right,
kind of right behind the bench there. That was totally empty, and that was just a weird feeling. So to have that back, that'll be nice. It'll be nice to have some students back at the game. And so our first, it'll be a Saturday afternoon game, so it'll feel like a college game.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it though, man. It's been so fun to just be back at it, and it's definitely kept me busy. That's why we haven't been, uploading or getting podcasts pounded out because that's taken up a lot of time. But every once in a while, you got a down night like tonight. And so hop on a Zoom call. Jackson, why don't you give the people kind of your down low? Maybe if you want to share your college plans. I know that just finalized for you. So
yeah, well, we'll start at, why we haven't been in a studio or the studio. Where our studio was in the back of a sewing retreat center that my mom ran here in Eau Claire, and no one could show up because of COVID. So we had the whole space to record our podcast, and it was pretty loose because no one ever showed up, and it was way too much room for what we were doing.
It's beautiful though, man. Woo.
So
to have that space.
Retreaters started coming back kind of right before or right after we moved all our stuff out of there. So I just have all the stuff in crates just sitting in my office. It's pretty funny, but that's why we haven't, been doing the episodes. We've been releasing some TikToks of some Omegle moments that we also had some time to record. And I've been enjoying those. But I think we're still only doing like 1 a week of those TikToks. Yeah. And I have like 7 in the backlog or something to upload. But yeah, I'm planning on going to Full Sail University in Orlando for film, which is pretty exciting.
Round of applause for my man.
Oh, thank you.
That's so awesome, because some of the content that you've just put out already, dude, it's like you got the resume, and just throughout the process, like I compared to everybody else, especially being an athlete and being that I had to sign by, November.
Right.
I had my decision just like that in terms of how everybody else had their decisions. So to kind of sit back and watch how everybody was kind of grinding through this thing, I felt for some of these people who didn't really know where they were going to spend, their next 2 or 4 years. And now you have that decision. You'll be down in Florida, living it up in Orlando, man. Good for you.
I already got my Jimmy Buffett on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's got the outfit on already. You won't have to change.
I know.
Down there at all. But yeah, exciting stuff from the 715 podcast.
It
in
is.
The future
it's
to
some
come.
crazy. It's some crazy high pressure stuff, though, to choose.
Yeah.
Where you're going to live for effectively the next, 4 years, and where you're going to start looking for jobs after that.
I just get so like kind of giddy about it too, because I'm excited, right? But at the same time, I'm sitting in class at Eau Claire Memorial, and I like look around, and there's probably half the kids that probably have no idea what they're doing either.
Right.
And they're going to be having to make the same decisions, and I just feel for some of those kids, because I know it's hard. It's really hard, and like you said, it's not an easy decision. But at the same time, you just got to kind of make one, and that's your thing, and you gotta go with it. So to see people start to roll out, and you got the senior page now, and you can see people post their senior pictures with where they're going and stuff like that has been
what they're doing. I think is even cooler.
Yeah.
It's
surreal.
Do you know what I didn't expect this year to be like so many people applying to schools? I thought it would be way lower because of the pandemic and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure there were some record highs this year.
Really? Yeah. Maybe that had to do with you didn't have to submit your scores this year.
Right.
And so people were a little more confident that they could have a shot at maybe a school they didn't think that they could, because they didn't have the test scores.
Right.
But yeah, it is super interesting to see what some of our classmates will be doing. Oh, just like we'll be in the work, like within 3 to 4 years, we'll all be in the workforce, and we'll be like, like you and I are adults now. Like,
right.
I have a Fu Manchu mustache, but at the same time, to think of a classmate that and it's like you grow up. It's not like I had first hour, environmental science with this kid for like 1 year, 12 years we've been together, and we've known each other, through Robbins or South or wherever you went. And it's just now we're kind of it's almost like we're getting close just to break off.
Right.
Like we're all trying to figure out, who's going where, getting kind of close again, talking to one another. Right. Especially now that we can kind of take our masks off every once in a while. People are getting vaccinated. Stuff's kind of loosening up. And then all of a sudden we'll just, and you'll have your 3 or 4 really close friends, and who knows from there, dude.
I'm still surprised prom is happening this year.
That's crazy. I never would have expected prom.
No, me neither.
For them to make those plans for us to do that too, I was surprised by that. But I don't know who said it. It got exponentially bad. It'll get exponentially better too with vaccinations, and the warm weather, I think, has got to help. And the fact that it's 40 degrees, it's like there's 40 mile an hour gusts of winds. It's been super windy, and you go outside and I don't get how any airborne pathogen could be spread with the amount of wind that's blowing out there sometimes, man. But yeah, stuff's opening up, and people are deciding where they're going for college. But future plans for the podcast, we're going to try to start doing more as far as those shorts, because I really like those shorts. Yeah. So like Jackson said, we have those in the bag, so we'll keep posting those. But really, we're down for anything. So really, if anybody is out there listening to and wants to hop on the podcast, it makes it really easy for us when you reach out to us and let us know. And we're really down to take anyone, really, aren't we, Jackson?
Chances are we're going to be doing it over Zoom. I don't know.
Yeah.
A couple months maybe. Not even because of COVID, just because we don't have a space to record it anyways. And this is a suitable substitute and it gets the job done. And I'm still excited to record podcast episodes, and it's still so much fun. I love doing it.
Yeah, I love doing it too. And like you said early on, when I think it was the second kind of one-on-one thing that we did, like an average podcast lasts like 8 episodes, and we're getting up there. We're getting way up there.
22?
Yeah, like 22 or something. So we just got to kind of keep the ball rolling, and at times it's hard. Like we kind of stalled here for a little bit, but we just got to try to keep, pounding out content for everyone, and kind of keep putting the nose to the grindstone and getting things done.
Have we ever shared the stuff that I've got hanging up on my wall behind me?
No, I don't even know if I know what that stuff is.
Oh, I think you do here. These are 2 volume 1 articles that our podcast was featured in. Yeah. So this is the first one. This was in September. This was I think we're right here. Where
little blurb.
This was right before Volume 1 launched their podcast. They shared some other local podcasts, and of course the 715. How much more local can it get than that? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right here. The highlight of the podcast section. Tune in and get hit to the 715 podcast. And there's a picture of our podcast with Spencer right there.
Boom. Spencer Douglas.
Yeah. Got both those probably on the wall.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you had those I didn't realize those were behind your head there.
Yeah.
I got quite the background here. Maybe I'll draw something on the whiteboard for next time or relocate.
There you go.
But something we might have to do, Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't planned. I just saw this, so I wasn't planning to talk to you about this. We talked about it kind of off air. Do you know what this is, Jackson?
I think so, yeah.
It's those smelling salts. 30. I don't even know if I should read what's in here. People are going to think we're nuts if we do these before every podcast, but it might be something to liven up the podcast. 35% alcohol and a 15% ammonia sniff. So they're said to lock you in and get you ready for really anything, mainly to like lift really heavy weight is what it's for. But I'll maybe have to run some over to you, drop some off on your doorstep, and we'll have to crack one before the next episode. And maybe if we get someone on that we know down the road, we'll just drop them off, and that'll be our thing. We crack a smell salt before we record or something.
There you go. Yeah, we can always do the guess that fail. That'd be perfect over Zoom.
Oh,
and that's still one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. I was just thinking too, maybe we get some kind of trivia thing rolling here.
There you go.
Where we kind of have a tournament. Either you or I could host. We could have different people on. Whoever wants to be on can be on, and they clash, and we do a little bit of trivia action too.
There we go.
Whatever
we got a lot of options.
We do. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, especially over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like you could do a lot, but with the breakout rooms, there's a lot of no backgrounds, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do on Zoom. So, Jackson, did you fill out a bracket?
I did not fill out a bracket.
You didn't? Oh my goodness, man. So as the date of the recording, it is the national championship tonight. Gonzaga versus Baylor.
I've never heard of either of those schools before.
Gonzaga's understandable. Baylor's a little bit bigger, but Gonzaga is like a no-name school that just is super good at basketball.
Really?
Yeah, they're undefeated right now, so they're going for an undefeated season.
Did anyone put them on their bracket?
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Oh, okay. Into the tournament. People were expecting it.
Yeah, they were definitely favorites to win. They were a 1 seed, so there's 64 teams ranked, and there's 4 like divisions, so you get 1 through 16, and they were one of the 4 1 seeds. But the amount of upsets that happened this year were crazy. Like there was an 11 seed in the Final Four, and they went into overtime. And for people that watch that game,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even watching the game. I just turned it on and went into overtime. And a guy from actually the Twin Cities, Jalen Suggs, I think is his name, hit like a just under half court bank buzzer beater for Gonzaga to win and go to the national. It was like an all-time history shot. Like there's 4 or 5 huge buzzer beaters in the tournament that have happened, and this is going to be right up there.
Yeah, I think
so
that even
tonight.
I think that even got to me on Twitter. Someone who watches zero basketball, people saying like, "This is one of the best games I've ever seen."
Yeah, it was. And it's just stuff that you get the buzzer beaters, but a lot of times it's the 10-footers, or they maybe get a layup.
Right.
But this thing was like a half court. It was a prayer to the man above, and the dude hit it, and then the celebration was sick. He got up on the table and was like, "Let's go, Gonzaga," this and that. And so and it was a Minnesota guy we actually played, like our high school team played in a 7-on-7 thing in the fall, and we played where he graduated from.
Oh, no kidding.
So now we just tell people that we played him, even though we didn't. Yeah, we just tell people that we played against him. But yeah, all-time shot from the tournament, and I think they just tipped it off about 10 minutes ago. So
I tell you what, shots like that are what'll get people further. Just because it's like a memorable thing, and now he has a name that people remember.
He made the shot. Yeah, I
that's
see what
half
you mean.
The battle.
Yeah, and he is forever ingrained in history, and I think he'll probably end up going to the NBA. He's like a super stud at Gonzaga. But I was not expecting. So the crazy thing about UCLA, though, they're in the Final Four to go to the national championship. But to even get to where they were at, they had to play in to get into the tournament. They went into overtime, I believe, in that game, and hit a buzzer beater in that game to even get in. And then they hit like 1 or 2 more buzzer beaters to keep moving on. and then they almost win it and go to the national championship too. Man. So that's why I think college basketball will remain just on a different, as far as like viewership during March.
Right.
I don't even think NBA comes close to college basketball. And a lot of people argue, NBA is better. They're way more talented.
Right.
But it's just so much fun to watch a little school like Oral Roberts, 15, go and beat Ohio State, one of the Big Ten huge, top of the nation teams. And they beat them. And everybody's like, what? How does this happen?
So
you don't expect it.
How are the NBA championships different than the March Madness? Because NBA, isn't it like you play 7 games, right?
Yeah. So there's a series in the NBA.
Okay.
So there's a lot less teams too.
Right.
So I think there's only 8 teams per side that make it. So there's 16 teams total.
Out of what? 30 something, right?
Yeah. I think there's something like 32. I don't even know. But yeah, and then they play like a 5-game series and then a 7 game series. So with this, it's just 1 game.
It's just 1 game, is it?
Yeah, 1 game. And I've heard that. I just saw like a joke tweet that since Gonzaga was just supposed to beat the crap out of UCLA, that they should just let them move on, and then the 2 teams playing tonight, Baylor and Gonzaga, should play like a 7-game series. But they made that buzzer beater shot just by like there's not many sports moments, especially that just like you're like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. But I remember watching that in the moment and just screaming like, oh my God, I cannot believe he made it. I didn't even think he'd get a shot off.
Right.
But it was, gosh. I was watching it live. I'll be able to say that too. I saw it live.
I feel like having the 1 game instead of 7 adds so much more motivation and intensity to each game, because they actually mean so much more.
Yeah, and the thing of it is too is a lot of times with these college basketball players, they're talented, but they're not at the elite level for the NBA. So they're playing for like their careers too. Like a lot of them, it's their last like organized basketball game.
Before they join the dad league or whatever, right?
Yeah, or maybe they go try to play in like Egypt or Ukraine or something, but they will never get the spotlight like the March Madness.
Right.
So, and unfortunately, you get the teams that make a little bit of a run and then they end up losing. But to say the least, just asking around to a lot of my friends that filled out brackets, a lot of them were busted this year because of all the upsets and you like to see it too.
Right.
But definitely when I get a little bit of extra money or income and I'm of age or in a state that allows a little bit of sports gambling, I'll be kind of putting some money down on some March Madness games because that makes the thrill even better. But yeah, it was March Madness was madness this year, man. Crazy.
You see,
I picked. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna ask what you picked, how your bracket.
Yeah.
Looked.
So my team, I picked Illinois this year. And the thing too is I didn't watch any college basketball until March Madness hit, and then I was like the biggest college basketball nut. I like watched every game because when they start the tournament, they started at like 11:30, and then they run it till like 9:30 that night.
Yeah, they have a lot of games to get through.
Yeah. So I was just watching, like I was trying to keep up with every single game. But the one game I did watch before the tournament was an Illinois game. And I was really impressed with their center and their point guard. So I picked them and they ended up losing in the second or third round to another Loyola Chicago. I don't know if you know Sister Jean. She's like a meme out there. She's like this 102-year-old teen chaplain that just is the most frail woman. But Sister Jean. And they made a run a couple years ago and Sister Jean became pretty popular.
Oh, I think, I've seen her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And she looks good there compared to kind of how she looked. She's 102. And she's just the most frail old woman. Yeah.
It's kind of a creepy one.
She's in a wheelchair. Yeah. But whatever she says to those boys, whatever prayers she sends up to the man above, they must work because that team makes some runs in the tournament. The last couple of years they made runs. No one was expecting them to make runs. And then they go and they beat my team, Illinois, this year. And gosh, it's hard to get upset about them because it's Sister Jean.
Right.
But that was my team to win it all. But yeah, I didn't win any. A lot of times, you put $5 in to like a group bracket and everybody tries to see who's got the best bracket. And I didn't win anything like that this year. I wasn't even close, but they do the same thing for women's. It's not as hyped up. I filled out my women's bracket and I was like 97% correct.
Really?
Something like absurd. Like I was in a top percentile in the nation. Just because I picked like no upsets.
Right.
And it worked out for me until like the last couple of rounds. Until like the final four, there was an upset. UConn's supposed to win it like every year and they didn't win it this year. But.
So that one's already long gone.
Yeah, that one finished up last night, I think. So April 4th? Yeah. But did you see the whole controversy with what happened with that? There's like a big uproar.
I think I saw
it was on.
I think
like
I saw
with the
some
weight
parts
room.
of it. Yeah,
there was like something with the weight room. I think what it came down to was the men had this huge weight room with all these like barbell racks and a bunch of full sets of weights, and then this woman, this college basketball player, I don't know who she played for, like pans. Oh, and then this is what the women get. And she panned over to like this little triangle of dumbbells. And there was like 5s through like 15s. There was like 4 dumbbells on this thing. And that was their weight room.
60 people? How many, like 30 people? How many people are
First,
on a basketball
64 teams times. I don't know how many a college roster takes, but like at Memorial, we were sitting around, 15 that traveled, 15 to 20. So
I mean, as a family that barely works out, like no one in our family really works out that hard,
Yeah.
I feel like I could find more equipment in my basement.
You probably could. There was almost literally nothing for them
Right.
to work out with. Yeah, that was something else. To see that was, but that's the world we live in. Sometimes you got bigots out there that
Right.
think women don't need to lift weights when a lot of them actually do. So
what now? The NCAA has to tighten up their thing a little bit, or are
I
they
think what
kind of?
ended up happening is they just took half the stuff from the men's and just moved it over and called it for the women's.
Oh,
I think that's what they ended up doing.
to make neither side happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To make both sides hate each other more, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Have you watched anything else besides March Madness? Anytime recently, or WWE?
oh man, let me tell you, WrestleMania this next weekend. But I do have a complaint to the WWE network whenever they listen to our podcast. I think they only listen like every other one, so this might not get on their
we'll say it
radio
next time
waves.
as well.
Yeah. But they had their own, so they had their own WWE network, right? Called the WWE network. It was its own app, its own thing on my LG smart TV or whatever, and I had my subscription.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a streaming service, but it's all WWE stuff. You can go and watch any pay-per-view from whenever they were called WWF, which is kind of a funny story because they got sued by the World Wildlife Foundation. So they had to change to WWE.
Right.
But anything from like 1994 to now, I can go back and watch.
Right.
And I had my grandparents over for Easter the other day, and I wanted to watch some old WWF Ric Flair with my grandpa Rick, spelled the same, R-I-C. And I go to log on, and it says, "We're sorry, we're moved to Peacock Premium." And I go, what? So they did this merger with Peacock Premium for WrestleMania for this next weekend.
Man. Like a limited thing, or like?
I have no idea. It was just like kind of out of the blue. I heard about it. I saw a commercial about it, but I just thought you could watch it also on Peacock.
Right.
For WrestleMania. But turns out they switched everything from WWE Network onto Peacock.
Man.
So now I have Peacock, I guess.
How much more was that one?
It's actually cheaper right now because I think they realized that they kind of snub some people, if you will. So they gave us a deal, but I get WWE Network and Peacock Premium now, I guess, versus just WWE Network. So I guess it's a better deal for me.
You can watch The Office or whatever.
Yeah, I could watch The Office, which I think they just ran a free thing on, right? It was like Office Week.
What else was on Peacock?
Dude, I don't know. I don't watch anything besides wrestling and for March basketball. Maybe I'll have to explore it out. I did watch a good movie the other night for my capstone, so that was fun. But yeah, have you been watching anything? Have you seen Godzilla? I've heard that's a movie that's been popping up.
I haven't. No, my family has HBO Max, but I haven't watched it yet. I have 30 days. You got 30 days with the ones that release at the same time in the theater that you can watch them for free on the streaming. So I think I still have like 15 days or something. But chances are I'll watch that one.
That's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah. I watched there's this Amazon Prime show called 000. It's like an international drug trade. It's an 8-episode miniseries. They're each an hour long. I'm 4 episodes in so far. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it made a lot of news because their budget for 8 1-hour-long episodes was, I believe, $180 million. But you can tell when you're watching the show, it's high production quality. Anyone who's like afraid of subtitles, quote unquote, you have to read subtitles. It's just such a unique show because there's 3 stories going on at the same time. Because it's all about the sellers. No. The buyers in Italy, the sellers in Mexico, and the brokers in the US.
Wow.
So you're switching from 3 different stories of all these people trying to make this big deal, and it's pretty sweet so far. Even though I'm only 4 episodes in, it's pretty sweet.
Man, that is there's like fictional movies, but that stuff is crazy. Some of that drug trade, I don't know. Oh, I was watching this Barstool thing where this guy traveled down to Medellin, Colombia, and saw like the old Escobar estate and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's crazy what some of those people do and the amount of money that they make. So that I might have to check that out.
Okay, I'm 90% sure this is fact, but because I looked it up and saw like a headline, but this was the 000 was based on a book, and the author of that book, I believe, from a headline, haven't done any more research, is under 24/7 police watch. The author of that book, yeah. Exposing
probably because they're
exposing all the industry secrets and whatnot.
Yeah, maybe they want a way out or something.
Right.
Huh.
I'm trying to.
That's what's always crazy though, is you see these like Nat Geo ones, like Drug Inc., and they're interviewing like all these drug lords and buyers and stuff. But yet the cops just can never find him, and they can put out like a 8 episode season or something like that. And yet the cops can't ever find him. I heard there also with like with the Italy thing, there was just this big mobster that just got busted. I don't know if you heard about that, but he was had to do with Italy and like the mob. And he put out a YouTube video where he blurred out his face. He blurred out his face and everything, but he like left his tattoos and stuff in there. And the cops were able to nail him down. It was like a pasta recipe. And they caught him. He wanted to release his pasta recipe to the world. And he was on the run for like 3 or 4 years. And he ends up getting caught from that. So I found that absolutely hilarious. But so is the subtitles because they're interviewing like Mexican drug cartel guys and they're all speaking Spanish, and then
it's not interviews. It's like a drama, you know. So it's not an actual, like, they're not actual people, but it's but they're still speaking Italian and Spanish in like 2/3 of the show.
Interesting stuff. I was watching the one movie I watched the other day. I was watching in Spanish just to try to crisp up on my Spanish a little bit.
Right.
And I think it's hard when they go the pace at the native level, man.
Yeah.
Like I can keep up with my teacher pretty well in a video recording or reading or something. But as soon as I gotta go off on my own and speak with someone or listen to someone that's been there and spoken it for a while, I get so lost. 5 and 6 years of it, but we're just not in school. I think if we were in school, I think it'd be a different story. But that's one of those classes that they just said, no, you're virtual this year. So,
man. So you're still taking Spanish?
Yeah, I'm still grinding through Spanish. We're reading a book right now, or like a short story right now. Jaque Mate and Dos Jugadas. Checkmate in 2 moves, it's called.
Oh, there you go.
There it is right there. But yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And I fell in love with traveling after I got to take that trip to Costa Rica.
Right.
And, down south of the border, especially, in the Dominicans and the Southern Americas. I really have a knack to go to Peru for some reason. But all of it's Spanish. So I think I might stick with it just so I don't know how hard it'll be in college, but.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be able to go there sometime soon.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do a 715 abroad episode or something. You'll have to teach me how to use one of the cameras. And
that sounds like a Yes Theory video.
Oh, dude, I love those guys. I just started watching them again.
Yeah.
Did you see the cable car one where he went across the Sahara and the coal?
I
Oh
didn't
my
know.
gosh. So he went from like Central Africa through the Sahara
Uh-huh.
on this like coal train, open boxed, and oh, you just gotta watch it tonight.
Man.
What ones have you what have you been watching from Yes Theory?
One of my okay, not many people have like, oh, this is my favorite YouTube video, but they definitely have one of my favorite YouTube videos, which is I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Dude, they're awesome. I mean, if we could get hooked up with Yes Theory, you know how sick that would be? Oh my
Here,
God.
this is one of my favorite YouTube videos. It's traveling to the least visited country in the world.
Okay.
And I'm gonna click on the video and
Do you know where they travel off the top of your head or no?
um uh Tuvalu. Tuvlu. It's such a good video. It's so cool. And one of my favorite parts of it is so there's like one airport and you fly in. There's like one airplane a week there or something that flies in and flies out. So he stays there for like a week and he just hangs out at like people's houses because there's like kind of a hotel, but not really. And he actually meets a guy who's like a Yes Theory fan
No way.
on the island of Tuvalu.
So is it like a Pacific Island country or
Something like that. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's such a good video.
Those guys
though.
figured it out, and their videos always have like a cool lesson. I think they share too.
Yeah, that's one
which
of the
I
coolest
really
parts.
enjoy. Like the one I just watched was the Egyptian guy.
Mm-hmm.
He got in a bad car accident.
Oh.
And he was supposed to do this huge skydiving thing. And like 4 days before the skydiving accident or something, he got in this accident. And so he didn't think he'd ever be able to complete this. It was like a 25,000 jump, you know, like crazy.
Right.
And he ended up kind of persevering through this crash, and they ended up reaching like 300 miles an hour through the air on the skydive.
Man.
And he's like, it was nothing he's ever experienced. Yeah. Like some insane stuff that those guys do. But one of the guys just kind of stepped away. Like one of the founders, Matt, I think, right? He's doing more writing stuff.
Oh. Like writing writing behind the scenes for the videos and stuff?
I think more like, I think they do like a blog, like a monthly blog from Yes
cool.
Theory. And I think that's kind of where he's taking more of his time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he just started to get tired of going to the least visited country, which I don't know how you can get tired with that. But, you know.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best thumbnails on YouTube, at the very least, when you're scrolling, those ones catch your eye. Right up there with
the Wim Hof,
with the Dude Perfect level of thumbnails.
Yes. There's some, dude, we've just been blessed with like the media whole thing growing up. Like we've had, you know, Dude Perfect, these Yes Theory guys, which I think they're underrated.
Yeah.
As far as like amount of subscribers they could have.
Yeah.
But like PewDiePie, like how does that guy have that many subscribers? That's insane.
I know. They're such different types of videos. And I think personally I've stepped away from watching the more gaming ones. You know, here's the 70 episode series of someone playing Happy Wheels. Like, of course I used to watch all of those when I was like 12 or something.
Those were hilarious.
Like way too young. But now I think those like one-off like 20-minute videos that are just, you can't compete with how high quality they are. That's some of the best stuff on YouTube.
Well, people are like full-time YouTubers now, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane the amount of time and effort they put into some of the stuff. And I think it's really cool.
I mean, even
stuff that they're able to do.
When you start doing it yourself, you have so much more respect for the stuff they're doing. Because let's just say for one episode of the podcast, so let's say it's an hour and a half episode. we set up for an hour, we record the episode, we probably tear down and get all the footage on the computer. That probably takes another hour. So we're already at 3.5 hours for one episode. Then I edit it, which takes at least an hour and a half, probably more. Let's say 2.5 hours. So we're at 6 hours now. Then you upload it, you get all the promotional footage. You're somewhere at like 8 hours for like an hour of content online.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the easiest things to edit because there's not much I edit out. And I set the screen or I begin flipping the cameras and then that's it. It's basically just me watching back what we already recorded just to make sure nothing.
Do you have an interest in trying to make some of those types of videos, or does that kind of scare you off a little bit?
I mean, there's so much work, but
yeah,
I mean, I would love to. There's some of my favorite videos. You just have to get the idea in place first and find all the people who want to do it.
Yeah.
And there's
some crazy stuff that they do too, man.
That's been the hardest part of like quarantine too. Is like wanting to find more of those projects. So I was lucky enough to be able to do, we've been doing all the podcast stuff and we've been able to see some people, and I recorded the one music video with Spencer, and I've been doing more freelance stuff, and I'm lucky enough to have those, but if only you could do whatever you want, there'd be so many more opportunities, but you can't always use that as an excuse for for not doing stuff, right?
Yeah, there's definitely. Let me tell you this: if you want to make a video or you want to send me somewhere, I'll go somewhere. I'll pay for my plane ticket. You tell me how to work the camera. I'll come back with the content. You can make one of those videos. Because I will do it, man. I just get a thrill of just thinking about Minneapolis, St. Paul. I just get a thrill about thinking about the airport, and when you get to drive up into the parking ramp and then just walk into the airport. Like, that stuff just gets me going, man. Let alone the destinations it can take you. It's insane. But one of my favorite content creators just came out with something huge. Dr. Disrespect wrote a. Have you seen this?
No, but
he wrote a book.
Really?
He wrote a book. It's a memoir, I think. I don't even really know what a memoir. I think it's just like stories,
like an autobiography, kind of, right?
Yeah. It's based off his motto. It's called Violence, Speed, Momentum. But I'm just about to finish a book that I've been reading for a while, and I think that might be my next one. And I might work it in with my capstone book, and try to finish that up. But I've been reading a lot more, and I think I'm gonna have to add that one.
Dude, it's so weird. I've started doing more reading too, which is something I've never done at all.
I know, like I'm about to finish this book. I have like 30 pages left.
Yeah,
I haven't read a full book since like 6th grade.
I know, especially
to read The Hatchet or whatever. I don't even remember what the book's called.
Especially on my own. Like, so these are a philosophy book for film, right? This is just this is a browser one, just to kind of look through, see if I come up with any ideas. And these two were recommended from Werner Herzog's Masterclass, which I recently took. There's some Norwegian poems, and this is a book that is very good if you want to learn how to do screenwriting, just purely for how things are described. But it's so weird because I don't think I've read, like, even for school, I just do Spark Notes. So I don't know the last time I've actually read an entire book. Maybe I know. Like 6th grade. Yeah, it's probably it.
And that's the crazy thing too, is like, once you actually kind of find a book that you're like, geez, I kind of want to keep reading. Then you're sitting there reading, and I'm like, I'm really reading a book right now. What
I could be on Instagram. What am I doing? Why am I reading?
What the heck? Get this, thing that's good for my brain, and give me the thing that's the same as drugs. But and it's nothing that I picked up during quarantine either. Like it was like pretty recent, like the last 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And like all of a sudden I like reading. So like, and then Dr. Disrespect comes out with a book. Like that's my favorite dude in the world. Are you kidding me? I got to get that book.
Yeah, I've been doing some different types of reading as well. I've got them under my table.
So are you writing a movie then? Is that kind of with the screenwriting
No, I mean I've written
book? Okay.
I've written a short film before. I mean I haven't
Okay.
just like rough drafts and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just something I'd like to know how to do if it ever comes up. Um yeah, here. This is mostly a quarantine thing. This is
Oh,
called
really? Is that a comic book?
Yes. I've been reading
Oh
comic
my.
books. I don't it was like I had here. I'll start at
That's
the
like the
beginning.
Bible of comic books right there, dude. That thing was massive.
So with Artivision, when we went to trade shows, I used to buy a lot of Silver Age comics, which it's just my favorite art style of comics.
Yeah.
So some Avengers, here, some Spider-Man. So all of these came out between 1955 and 1975. That type of artwork. But they're so expensive. So I would buy like one at every show I went to because you can only spend $50 on so many comic books. So
yeah,
I found these things called omnibuses, which are like 1,000-page complete stories. So the one I picked up online was the one that the Infinity War and Endgame were based on, which is the giant Thanos book, which is 1,200 pages. It's so much stuff. But so I read
crazy.
like a little bit each night, just because it's better than looking at it. It's better than staring at your phone for like an hour.
That's
I mean,
that's one of the worst
I
things.
would barely consider it reading, but it's still a lot of fun.
And it's the same style of art, right? Even though it's a newer book.
I mean, the ones that I actually have are from 55 to 75. This one came out in the late 80s.
Okay.
Very early 90s was this storyline.
So that strand of Avengers movies with Infinity War and Endgame, dude, I thought those were unreal. I saw Endgame in the theater. It's like one of the last movies I went to.
Really?
But that was just unreal.
Yeah.
Especially in theater. Oh, I don't know how you can top some of that stuff.
No. And the crazy thing that about the book that I'm reading that it was based on is how different it is.
Really?
And it's cool to like see the stuff they drew from and like draw the similarities, and
that would be cool.
Yeah. It's
I'm looking right now. I could get a signed Violent Speed Momentum book from Dr. Disrespect for the low price of $79.95.
Wow.
I might have to just go with that. And just say, and when someone asks, just say, "Oh, I thought I was getting the normal book." Because who's going to yell at you for getting a book?
I know.
You're getting a book.
That's so weird. I don't know why he wrote a book. It's weird.
Neither do I, and that's why I need to read it. To figure out, and the reviews are, of course, the reviews are crazy because it's like all the people that pay him like $20 just to interact in his chat.
Right.
But like life-changing stuff is what people say. What would be even better if I could go to a bookstore, if it's in a bookstore somewhere, and just Violent Speed Momentum's like right there. He's trying to get it to a New York Times #1 bestseller, but I don't know if the old ex-Twitch streamer could make that happen.
I think
that's a pretty high feat.
In order to do that, you'd have to sell them for like $1 and do like free shipping. Just absolutely lose so much money on it. But if your goal is to sell copies, because if they were like $1, I'd be like, cool, sign me up.
Yeah, the unsigned version is $16.25 hardcover.
Hardcover, not bad.
Yeah. 14.
But how often are you going to be able to get a video streamer's signature?
I mean, you might have to flash a picture of even just the cover of the book for the people that are watching at home, because that is just
here. What is it called again?
25 violence, speed, momentum. So if you don't know, if you go back and look at my Instagram posts from like the last year, I always put hashtag VSM, hashtag violence, speed, momentum.
Is this it?
That's it. That's the cover of the book. And so, and I'm crossing my fingers that we go 5-2 for the rest of the season. But that is the Dr. Disrespect. He calls it the Ethiopian caterpillar. That'll be the next process of the mustache.
There you go.
Or maybe I'll have to get some just for men and darken it up a little bit.
What's next? The eyebrows?
Yeah, and maybe a wig, and then maybe the glasses, and then I'll just be the next, 6'8" video gaming god.
So wait, do you only have 7 games?
Yeah.
Wow.
So in a normal year, we have 7 conference games with 2 non-conference games. And then depending on how you do, you can make playoffs. And usually if you go like, I think we were 4-5 and we made it into playoffs last year. This year we just have 7 guaranteed games, and I would be very surprised if they do like a playoffs, because like I started baseball today too.
Oh, man.
So yeah, spring sports are going on. And I didn't go, but that's going on.
Right.
So I'd be surprised if they do a playoffs. It'd be cool, but at the same time, there's just other stuff that's got to get done.
Right.
That in a normal year you wouldn't. Yeah, it's just a crazy messed up year.
And you're doing football at St. Thomas as well, right?
Yeah. So the plan is I'll be playing there. So right now they're going through a little bit of a transition year. They're a D3 program right now in the MIAC, so the Minnesota Intercollegiate Conference.
Right.
Those D3 schools, but they're going to be transferring up to Division I in the Pioneer League. So I don't know if you know like Butler and Drake and some of those schools. A lot of times those are the ones that people know of. But they're going into that conference, so I'll be playing over in the cities for St. Thomas. I'm really excited for that. And
D1
it'd be a quick turnaround.
That's the highest one, right? Is D1?
Yeah, so there's different kinds of D1s too.
Okay.
So there's different classifications. There's an FBS and an FCS. So a football bowl series. So when you see like, Wisconsin go to the Cotton Bowl, and normally Wisconsin isn't in the Cotton Bowl, but then you have a championship series, and that's what St. Thomas will be in.
Okay.
But then that's a kind of like March Madness, where there's at the end of the year, I think it's 32 teams for they have a championship tournament to see who's the number 1 team. And actually when I'm there, we'll be in a probationary kind of stint where we won't be able to make the playoffs, but we can still win conference.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited for it. It was always the dream to be a D1 athlete, and so we'll be able to make that happen. And there's a lot of work to be done still.
Nice.
But we meet like every 2 or 3 weeks as a recruiting class of 2021 graduates, and it's just so exciting to start to get to know those guys and then start to hit the gridiron with them. And I'll have to report in early August, so it'll be a quick turnaround from the end of, I think May 7th is our last football game, to then early August when we're in the cities playing again. So
I mean, those are the types of games you see on TV, right?
Yeah, those will probably be they'll probably be televised every once in a while. Definitely on some local channels.
Nice.
But yeah, right now, if you turn on ESPN2 on a Saturday, you'll see some FCS schools going at it, because a lot of those schools didn't play in the fall and they moved to the spring.
Right.
So there's like, I don't know who, I think it was like Jackson, Mississippi University was playing. And that's an FCS school. So it's cool to see some of those schools like on TV every once in a while, and they'll be like, yeah, I'll get to play them. Like I don't know who was I think Drake won a play-in game in the tournament for March Madness, and it'll be like, yeah, our basketball team will be playing those guys. So
did you know?
Actually, I don't know if the basketball team will.
Oh.
I take that back. I think the basketball team might be in a different conference, but because it's all messed up with where football goes and different sports. But
did you know that they would be moving up to a different bracket when you signed up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of one of the big things too, was I was getting recruited by a D2 school. So it goes D3, D2, D1, FCS, D1, FBS.
Right.
And so I was getting recruited by I don't want to say a bunch because it wasn't a bunch. It was, 5 or 6 D2 schools.
Right.
And they were really good options, but then St. Thomas came in a little bit later than some of the other ones. But then I got to kind of take my time and narrow it down to 3 different schools. And then St. Thomas, with the transition and just being over in the cities, it was the closest to home.
Right.
I felt like I connected best with Coach Caruso there at St. Thomas, and then just the job opportunities over in Minneapolis and St. Paul. That's kind of what I based my decision off of too. It just seemed like it was the perfect formula, and I do think I made the right decision. And I just get more excited every time, I think about it and kind of look forward to it. So yeah, man, I'm excited for it. That's for sure. That'll be all from the 715 podcast. It was great to kind of sit down with you, Jackson, and do it from the old Zoom settings. But we're getting some content out, and that's the ultimate goal, is to just kind of keep pushing out stuff for people, because if we just keep doing it, we'll stick with it. And we both enjoy doing it. So for everyone that listened today, we appreciate everyone, and tell your friends, tell your family to keep tuning in, because we'll keep putting stuff out. So,
and hey, we're not joking when we say anyone who has anything to discuss, let us know. We're open to discussion. That's our whole goal.